abuse, and we've thought of it in terms of physical and sexual abuse. But recently, experts have become concerned about emotional abuse. It's much more common, and it's how many parents are turning their kids away. But Stone Phillips reports that along with the new awareness comes innovative programs to keep parent-child relationships intact.
Tonight, as many as 2 million teenagers in this country have left their families and are living on the streets. This is the sad evidence of something going wrong in our families, something going wrong between parents and their children. What can possibly make kids choose a life like this, looking for shelter in an old abandoned trailer? Some resorting to prostitution to stay alive. Some of these kids are running from physical and sexual abuse at home, but many are running away from something else just as painful.
You're pathetic. You can't do anything right.
You disgust me. Just shut up.
It's called emotional abuse.
You're worthless.
Dramatized in this television commercial by the National Committee for Prevention of Child Abuse.
Why don't you go find some other place to live?
Words hit as hard as a fist. Stop and listen to what you're saying.
I wish you were never born.
I'm sorry, I really tried. What else do you want from me? I am doing my best.
Don't you pull your emotional crap with me, because I have no pity for you, because I'm not proud of you, because you disappoint me all the time.
Emotional abuse, change.
This teenage workshop, sponsored by a New York City group called City Kids, is part of a new national campaign against the emotional abuse of children.
Emotional abuse is very serious because as a bad habit, it really demeans the child to a point where they lose their self-esteem.
Matilda Cuomo, wife of the governor of New York, helped organize this workshop to focus public attention on the problem.
I could care less what your problem is. You don't think I have problems of my own?
So stupid. I can't believe you're my son.
And they feel worthless. And then you find them dropping out of school, running away. They go into taking drugs and alcohol just to stifle the pain that they're feeling.
Look, I really need to speak with you.
Look, I'm going to say it again. I'm trying to read the paper.
Dad, you're always reading the paper. You're always working. You're always doing something, but there's never no time for me, and I just want to talk.
Don't you understand? I've had a bad day. I'm trying to read the paper.
How is emotional abuse different from a normal outburst of anger that happens with all parents? Child psychologist Dr. James Garbarino.
What we're concerned about here is patterns in the way kids are treated. Every opportunity to use something against a child being taken and sticking the knife in or turning the screw. A pattern of disregard, a pattern of humiliation, a pattern of undermining the child's sense of self-worth.
Very few parents want to demean their children, and yet they find themselves doing it time and again, lashing out with hurtful words that humiliate their kids. Many parents don't realize what they're doing, and even those who do see the damage they're doing to their kids often find it very difficult to stop.
I would say, I wish I never had you. If I had to do it all over again, I would never have you.
Gail, a single mother of a 10-year-old son, is a member of Parents Anonymous, a group that helps parents who know they are mistreating their children and don't understand why.
My criticism was not nice. And it was one of those, what are you, stupid? You don't know how to do this?
Gail knew she was hurting her son with her words. She saw the impact on him.
He started to withdraw from me.
Stay in his room, not talk to you.
Right. Nothing to say. I say, how was your day? And you get a shrug of the shoulders.
To help these parents understand why they behave the way they do toward their children, Parents Anonymous asks them to look back at the parenting they received as children, because people really learn to parent from their own parents.
My father used to say all the time, if it weren't for you goddamn no good kids, I could be happy. I can remember saying as a kid, I am never, ever going to make my kids miserable. And here I was doing those awful things that I had spent an entire lifetime saying, I am never going to do. I am never, never, ever going to do this.
Hey, how you doing?
Eric Breitenbach, a young father in Massachusetts, was determined it would not happen to him, that he would never hurt his daughter Anya the way he had been hurt as a child. Eric still has vivid memories of how frightened he was when his own father came home after work.
My father comes home and is like red with rage and screaming and starts wailing on me. Everybody's trying to figure out a way to get my father to stop doing what he's doing. And the next day, we all go about our business like everything's fine. And it's not normal. Kids shouldn't grow up in terror of their parents. They shouldn't.
Eric has never been abusive toward his daughter, but recognizing that abused children often grow up to be abusive parents, he decided to get help before a problem got started in his family.
And then we go right into that cycle of stuff that we talked about.
Together with his wife, Andrea, they go for counseling each week. We met with them along with their family therapist, Dr. David Treadway.
I'm trying to do it differently than the way my father did it, which was basically having temper tantrums and hitting his kids and stuff. That was a big impetus for me to get into therapy because I didn't want to be this person that my child was terrified of.
Was there a moment when you realized that that was a possibility? That you might pass on that same thing?
Definitely. Yeah.
Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, there's been a lot of them. It's that feeling out of control.
If I'm trying to help a parent think about their child, what I'm really interested in is how do they deal with a kid when they're upset? How do they treat their kid when they're having a difficult time? What happens when dad's upset about the bills? What happens when mom and dad aren't getting along?
You call yourself a husband? You can't even pay the phone bill!
Maybe if you'd stay off the damn phone, then maybe the bill wouldn't be so high. Then maybe I wouldn't have to break my back trying to pay it.
I should be the one breaking your back?
You already are.
What happens with the kid when the kid walks into that scene? Does one of the parents turn and say to the kid, well, what about you? You haven't done your room in a week.
You're driving me crazy. Why can't I have a normal family like on TV? Why can't I have a normal son instead of such a stupid one?
You leave him alone.
A kid who has an angry parent basically doesn't say, gee, my dad's got this emotional problem. He says, my dad wouldn't treat me like this if there weren't something wrong with me. That's the inner message that kids take away.
Like this? Yeah. A little kid doesn't know you're not mad at them. And let's say I come home and I go into some kind of temper tantrum. My little kid's standing there. My little kid doesn't know that I'm mad at my boss. You know, as far as she can tell, I'm just mad and she's scared.
That is a real natural problem that all families have. Do I ever really take out my own angry feelings on my kids that don't have anything to do with my kids whatsoever? Of course I do. But the reality is that people are ashamed of that.
Because that's so embarrassing, so shameful, how do you reach these people?
By working on breaking the cycle of shame. It's the process of making peace with yourself and your parents, which in turn helps you make peace with yourself as a parent. Because if you can forgive your parents, you can forgive yourself.
By getting help now, Eric is investing in his family's future. It is precisely this kind of investment in the emotional well-being of a young family that can help that family later on when it has to weather the inevitable difficulties of seeing a child through adolescence.
And when they reach adolescence, there are so many temptations in our society, so many negative influences to draw a child away from the family. There's drugs, there's alcohol, there's inopportune sexuality. That whole world is out there pulling at the child. What's pulling in the other direction? Basically, it's the strength of that attachment to the parents, that sense of, I've always been regarded, I have self-respect, I'm respected, and therefore I'll live in a dignified kind of way as a teenager.
These teenagers have all left home because they lost that sense of attachment to their parents. They live here at a home for street kids in Boston called the Bridge Over Troubled Waters.
Like sometimes she would say that I was unwanted and that she didn't want me, and I was a bad symbol of my father, and that she hated me, and that she just wished I wasn't there.
I can't remember ever feeling like I belonged to a family, you know. When I lived with my mother, nobody ate together. She ate in her room and I ate in my room, and that was it, you know.
Some kids may never lift themselves out of the sadness that results from emotional abuse in childhood. But ironically, a crisis during adolescence can force a family to confront the problem and maybe even undo the damage. One of the teenagers now living at the Bridge House is a good example of that, Carla.
I'd come home at 3 o'clock in the morning, drunk, and smile at my mother, breathe on her, and make sure she knew I was drunk, just to get some attention. I was pissed. And as it progressed, as I got older, I dabbled into drugs and drinking, and I just went wild.
Carla's mother, Bobby, divorced from Carla's father, had given up as well.
I could not live this way anymore with Carla. Carla was doing her own thing.
Carla's mother was caught up in that nightmare that so many parents fear. A kid involved in drugs and drinking, out of school, out of control, out on the street. But like so many parents of an adolescent in trouble, Bobby didn't think of it as a family problem. It was Carla's problem. She was the one causing the family anguish. She was the one who needed fixing. And Carla believed it too.
I thought it was me that was the problem. I was the problem, not them.
That perspective didn't change until, at age 16, Carla was arrested for drinking. Her probation officer suggested a treatment program that insisted on the whole family coming in for counseling. For Bobby, it was a breakthrough. Finally, she understood how she had hurt her own daughter.
It was all those years of not knowing how to talk to Carla or to any other kids. I had to learn how to change.
Bobby's willingness to change is what led to this. 2 years after leaving home, Carla now comes back to visit her mom. And now, for the first time in years, they're able to talk about how things went wrong between them.
So when Carla was little, she had nobody that knew how to give her what she needed. I didn't know how to parent. I really didn't understand of how to interact with your child, that you could talk to children and they could put some input into things.
When I was young, we didn't have a relationship. We didn't talk. And that's what I wanted.
I started going to counseling. And through that, I learned how to talk to Carla.
It may take professional help to see your way out of some of these traps that a family is in, but it certainly can be done. Those bonds can be reestablished. It really relies upon people starting to find a way to reestablish this message. I care about you, I care for you, I care what you're doing.
That's what I was trying to do, I think. I wanted my message to get across. I want to be loved. That's what I was trying to get with somebody to hold me tight and say that we want you, you're special, you're something, and just hold that. I think that's what holding tight means.
Carla says that slowly she is feeling closer to her mom and better about herself. And she asked us if she could say something to other kids and other families.
You have to admit to yourself that my life sucks, or my life is terrible, and I don't want to live it anymore, and I want to change it.
It is tough for both parents and kids, isn't it, Stone?
It is.
And you realize from watching this, sometimes it's not just what you say, it's what you forget to say, what you don't say.
That's true. It underlines the tough job that parents have. And of course, parents aren't always to blame when relationships between parents and their kids go wrong. But it's worth remembering, I think, that whereas we as adults have the ability, we're equipped to either ignore or to rationalize or retaliate against abusive type remarks, kids take it in and take it personally.
And we have to learn somehow to express our anger without making it personal. Yeah. Thank you, Stone. Hugh?
Yes, without making it personal. You know, the child psychologist Chaim Ganat used to refer to anger without insult. He said a child can absorb a lot of anger, and it doesn't necessarily hurt him if you don't insult him. In other words, if you say you did wrong, that's not harmful. But you're stupid, that's harmful to a child. Well, when we come back, some improvements in the most dangerous job in America. Stay with us.
And now